Here we are. We are starting Husky Huddle. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Colley. As always, my partner in crime, the man himself, Coach Schuman. He is the visionary behind Coach Schuman's Sports and Entertainment YouTube channel, which has 1.3 million subscribers.
Nice.
And a very special guest, former teammate of mine, friend, Sean Mulcahy, defensive lineman, and converted to tight end to play in NFL Europe. And he is with us now podcasting. We have our own show, Husky Talk SNS, where he's got me to watch 80s movies. And I was telling him about what Dave said to watch Gone with the Wind in Casablanca. And I'm gonna check out Casablanca first.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Yeah.
Looking at you, kid. That's right.
Yeah. So the very, very special episode. UConn concluded spring practice on Wednesday, and it was the first time that Jim Mora was available to the media.
Oh.
He gave an interview. If Dave wanted to pull it up, it's on Store Central. Let me see if I can.
I can get it.
No, I'm not an idiot. I think I know how to do this now.
What, go to YouTube?
No. Share the screen. Is it coming? Did it come up?
You got it?
Yeah. Did it come up?
There you go. Perfect. Go.
Okay. So this is Mora. First interview.
It was a really productive spring. We worked extremely hard, probably the hardest we worked in the springs I've been here now. He's just embraced every moment of it. We saw a lot of progress as a team. New guys that came in either as freshmen, high school guys, early enrollees, or the portal guys all just assimilated very, very well. These guys will work out for a couple weeks and they'll take some time off, and we'll get back at it right after Memorial Day weekend. So late in May, that's the next phase. So it's been really good, really competitive.
Wow, that's a long time off.
Intense. We got about probably over 1,400 team reps, which is more than you have in a season. So that's what we needed to do. We needed to work
That's
hard.
crazy.
Yeah.
1,400 live reps?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Plays?
That starts.
Not tackle, though. It's not tackle.
I'm sure there's,
No.
priority
They don't
thousands of
tackle.
kids in this portal. It's a different time now.
I was talking about the portal.
Reduce the roster limits. There's going to be a lot of really good football players out there, so we'll be hunting.
How do you balance building on the momentum from last season to starting over?
You start over. You don't. Last year doesn't matter. A lot of these guys weren't even here.
This is embarrassing.
Critical pieces.
Why?
That helped us.
There's two people interviewing him.
Year, so it's you just.
How do you know there's two?
Because I can see the two microphones. That's it.
You talk about attitude. You talk about character, commitment, teamwork, selflessness, all those things. You just got to rebuild.
You're saying it's a mirage?
So really, in this day and age, there's no
there's one, there's two. There's two people.
Going to be, then you make a pretty big mistake potentially. So
are you kidding me?
And you had a chance to see King when he played Temple.
There's a
What
third.
did you like about him?
No, that's the second guy.
Well, first and foremost, he's a playmaker. He's made a lot of tackles in his career.
See, he's got his phone. That's him. There's one there and there.
Been productive.
Wow.
Really important.
So it's not a press conference.
It is a press conference. This is only availability all spring.
He's a good-natured, tough, hardworking team kind of guy, and that was what we felt when we brought him in for the weekend, and through this since January, that's what he's proven to be. Same thing in this spring ball. He kind of stepped up, and
that was the
it's not easy to
quarterback.
come in as a new guy and gain instant credibility with your teammates and respect
Virginia
for your
quarterback.
teammates, but he did that just in his words and his actions. So really excited about him.
Jim, you say last year's last year, but does last year help sell your message when you're looking at players?
It absolutely does. So that's if you're going to put it in a.
Okay, I've seen enough of this. Jesus.
That was super exciting.
Yeah, it's
Dave, that's embarrassing.
Why? I don't understand why it's embarrassing.
Dave, when we played, okay, there were
We
more
had newspapers. Newspapers were a big deal. Even when I was FCS, we always had a lot of people because newspapers were a big deal. You would have the Post, whatever.
Yes, the Current, the Post, the Register. There were two freaking
You'd have Joe D.
there.
You'd have Joe D. Or Wayne there.
You'd have two people. There were two people with cell phones asking questions. It's just like,
well, maybe they don't allow anybody else.
No, they do. They have to. I don't know that for sure. I'd have to ask Kyle Muncy. But
Kyle's still there?
Yes, he's still there.
How about Mike?
No, yes. Mike Enright is big. He's up there? Yeah, he's big time.
Nice.
Enright's up there, and Kyle's there too. But Sean, to me, that is honest to God just embarrassing. This is the first time Mora has spoken all spring. They advertised his press conference for a week.
Yeah.
And it honestly looked like two people were there interviewing him, asking him questions, and not even asking good questions. But
maybe
I need a press pass.
Okay, I think you can get a press pass, dude. We have a huge audience.
I'm going. I can't put up with this anymore. So
what would you
probably
ask?
Don't even need a pass. Just walk in. Like whenever I did stuff for seriously, whenever I did stuff for SNY, no one looked for like credentials or anything.
Yeah, but you played for Randy. Like they didn't care. Randy wouldn't give a shit if you came in.
It's funny you say that. I've got a very good story about Paul Pasqualoni. We can hold it.
Coach P.
Yeah,
you got a Coach P story.
Oh, I got a Coach P story. So
we gotta hear Coach P story.
So
you definitely got to hear that.
I knew him a little bit before he got to UConn because my high school coach and his coach coached.
Yeah, we went to the camp. We went to his camp.
4 years of Syracuse camp, and they coached at WestCon. So, anyways, Paul Pasqualoni gets to UConn, and I'm still doing stuff for SNY. So I go up there it was either in August before the season or it was right after spring, and he had just finished being a D-line coach for the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I broke the ice.
That's where he came from.
Let's talk some D-line hand moves. Let's do some stuff. Like, what do you got? Here's what worked best for me. Each player's different. So we had a nice breaking of the bread D-line technique conversation. Then he breaks everything and he goes, "Now listen, you're with the media. So you're not getting any special privileges. I'm not telling you anything you think you want." And I'm like, whoa, where is this coming from? Like, we were just shooting the shit. And now he's like full court press. You can't just walk in. I'm like, I'm not walking in anywhere. You told me to come in and say hello. We're talking about our old mutual friend. So he got very standoffish and then he sucked. And then he walked away with $2 or $3 million for sucking. And, every bad coach walks away with a golden parachute, unfortunately.
Yeah, you get paid not to coach.
Yeah, you get paid to suck. That you get paid to suck. So he had a nice retirement. I think he's back in Connecticut. So, I'm glad he was able to do so much for UConn.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was a total douchebag move.
He really was.
He had no reason to treat me like that. And complete 180 in the conversation. And I wasn't like a story breaker for SNY. I was like bottom of the barrel. Yeah.
Well, you weren't bottom of the barrel. You weren't bottom of the barrel.
Only one. If you saw the paycheck, only
you
only
and Donnie were good.
Who covered UConn football, and I'm just I'm just trying to get to know what the offense is like, what the defense is going to be like. And he was like, "Take a hike." I was like, "All right, Paul. Good luck." By the way, you did a shit job recruiting.
Yeah,
your 2000 class was a shit class.
Yeah, the 2011 class that when he took over, he just because he he went back to the Connecticut kids because he used to always take Connecticut kids when he was at Syracuse, like the Josh brothers to Bucky Jones.
Right.
Oh, the list is endless. Freeney.
And he tried to do that at UConn, and it just didn't work out. He didn't get the right talent. Like Casey, I don't know if Casey Cochran was the quarterback when he was there, but Casey was good and he butchered him.
Yeah. Casey might have overlapped with Diaco too, who was another horrible.
Oh, I love Diaco. He created the civil conflict. That's the greatest thing ever. He created a rivalry.
The shortest rivalry.
I think he's the greatest man ever. I'm just going to create a rivalry. I'm going to make a trophy, and I'm going to pick a team, and now you're our rival.
And we got smoked by them too, didn't we?
Well, they beat them once, and then they lost. They lost like a couple times, and UCF didn't even want the trophy. Like I read The Athletic. That's one of the sports sites I read. The Athletic did a huge story about the civil conflict in the trophy and who has it, where it is.
Oh my God!
Because nobody knows where it is. There's legends and rumors about where it is. But the last game was played in the rain. It was a mess and a disaster. And UCF did not take the trophy.
It's a landfill in East Hartford.
No, I don't think UConn brought it back. I think it really is at UCF. Somebody said it's at UCF. Just like it's at like the back of the stadium or something.
Or the bottom of Lake Okeechobee.
Or something like that.
Oh,
but I thought that was
that's why. Diaco, here's what I remember about Diaco. And then I got a Paul Pasqualoni story too.
Yo, Diaco was another douchebag. Like such a douche.
Diaco was doing like his like public tour thing. Like he went in New York City, and I think me, Matt DiGennaro, who was like a quarterback from like the before I was there, and a bunch of guys went. A lot of guys. I think Bobby Alfaro. A lot of guys went to this thing in New York City. Diaco comes in. He says some things, and like a couple of guys from recruiting, because I especially at that time, that was like when Pasqualoni and Diaco was literally the when my events, I run showcase around. We were running over 100 events. We'd have 25,000 kids come through a year, recruits.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was feeding all the schools in the country, but the one school that did not ever, very rarely took players from Rutgers would come and sit in my office and talk about players, but because I'm in New Jersey, but UConn. So I think DiGennaro introduced. He goes, "Hey, this is Diaco, blah blah blah." He goes, "Oh yeah, I know the stuff you do." Blah blah blah. Talked to him for like literally it was like 5 seconds, and he says, I'll talk with you soon. So he spoke. He moved to the crowd. Someone like introduced me real quick as he was walking through the crowd, and then he left. That was it. That was his interaction with the thing. So I thought, he was going on to he was saying hello, and I thought he was going on to to talk to some other people. No, he was.
Oh my God.
He was out. So he didn't want to talk to anybody. There was a couple of people because he knew of Matt, because he was a really good quarterback in the late 80s. And he Matt introduced me to him because of the showcases and stuff I do. And UConn alum. And he said hello to me. And like I remember other people, like I thought, oh, he's Bolton because he's gonna go talk to other people. No, he was gone.
Oh my God.
I mean, he didn't hang out. He didn't So I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to do well here. Like, I think, and he was more worried about like wearing a buttoned up shirt at a UConn game, like having a different style than anything else. Now he was a good defensive coach because I thought right away he brought that part to it.
Yeah,
but then he did a really good job. They just never got any offensive things going. And I remember he made, I think it was, what he did from offensive coach's standpoint was kind of very questionable what he was doing recruiting
Yeah, his recruiting was weird.
No, I
weird.
mean,
Weird. That would be the way I put it. Weird. Like he's from Jersey.
Yeah.
He didn't recruit Jersey really.
No.
But,
and you had to be a Christian.
Oh, is
Yeah,
that-
he was big on religion.
Huge
He
on
was huge on
Christianity.
religion.
It was like, are you fucking stupid? Like, what the hell does religion have to do with football? Like, all this, all you like, work. It was just over the top. Like, obvious. Most of us are Christian, but for the few players that were either Jewish or whatever,
or they just didn't really. They were like, I mean, I'm a born again Christian, but when I went to college, I mean, I was raised a Presbyterian, but like I really didn't do much with religion at that time. You know what I mean? So like, I wasn't until later that so like you got a lot of players that are not that into that. So like, even if they were raised it, they, at that time they're young, they don't really know, some do, some don't, they don't know what they want. But yeah, and I thought that was interesting. And I thought Parseghian, who actually recruited me out of high school when he was at Syracuse.
Yeah.
When I brought my seven, because I knew who was his right hand man. He passed away.
George DeLeon.
George DeLeon, who's a great guy. I love George DeLeon. I love.
You're the only one who loved him, but
I know. Okay. I know a lot of people didn't love him. I loved him because I knew him from when he recruited me in high school. Although he offered somebody else instead of me, but I knew him for so long from recruiting and all that stuff. I really got along great with him. But George DeLeon brings me over to Parseghian. I brought my team up for a 7. They never really ran 7-7 tournaments, but that was one year they did, and I brought my team up there, my whole team, and introduced me. And Parseghian shakes my hand and just turns around. I was like, this fucking guy. I'm like, first of all, you sat when I was a high school player, you sat in the office, recruit like I was like this. I'm like, either he's really old. Like I thought maybe he was just really old. That was my first thought process, that like he was kind of half checked out. And I was like, wait a minute, we hired a guy that's half checked out already as the head coach. Like he didn't fucking know what the fuck was going on.
Oh, he was checked out.
He was checked out. Yeah. Like he might be.
It was a retirement gig.
Yeah, it was a retirement gig, and it was like, okay, he might be able to still coach a position, like where his brain goes into position coaching.
Are you talking about Coach P or DeLeon?
Coach P. Coach P.
Yeah.
But DeLeon was a lot more with. DeLeon was more with it. DeLeon was super.
Really?
I thought he was pretty with it.
Okay.
I had some good interactions with DeLeon. He actually came down to our high school while he was coaching at UConn, and he was actually complimentary about the whole recruiting process. Like, we made a mistake, you turned out great, very happy for you. Whereas like Parseghian was still like, oh, I think we chose the right players. I'm like, yo, those guys, 3 of them quit before they graduated. What are you talking about? But DeLeon, he could coach any run game, like
anyone.
Like so like Parseghian had checked out as head coaching. DeLeon could still coach no problem any offensive line, any type of running scheme, any type of pass blocking. He would always. I remember him one time saying like he was getting a hard time from Parseghian in the early '90s when they had like Kyle McIntosh and stuff.
Yes.
And he was like, Coach P went to DeLeon. He's like, dude, what's the problem? And DeLeon goes, it's the fucking execution. The coaching's fine. It's the execution. It's like putting it on the players.
Right.
So I always thought that was hysterical because it was like the one time I heard an assistant coach be like, it's your fucking players, man. I'm coaching what I'm supposed to be coaching, but the execution on your players suck right now.
Oh my God. That's funny. They were, it's amazing because they had Donovan McNabb and they were like, they were considered, like Parseghian was considered a legendary coach.
Yes. And then he ruined it.
Like, I mean, as soon as I talked to him for 2 seconds, I was like, we're going to suck.
Yep.
Well, that's
you
when
could
Burton's
tell
father,
like he was not there. Like maybe he was when he was 50,
right,
55, maybe 60. But at close to 70, he was not, or 70 years old, he was not.
No.
Well, that's when Burton's father asked for his money back.
Did he really?
Oh man, that was a huge story. Sean,
Yes,
you remember
I
that?
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, Burton went to Hathaway or whoever was the AD, and because he was so disappointed at Pasqualoni and where the program was, he said, "I'd like my money back for the donation."
Yeah.
And they, obviously said no.
That's funny. That's
Yeah, I
really,
remember that. There was a big controversy.
Huge fight
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah.
So,
And
so,
I
they-
get it.
so Burton didn't want because he knew Pasqualoni because
I don't think he
His
wanted
son
Diaco.
His son played for him.
yeah.
I think it was when Pasqualoni got fired and they brought in Diaco, and that's when Burton was like,
No, it was Pasqualoni.
Okay.
It was Pasqualoni.
So did he want Pasqualoni or no? Or did
No,
he
he didn't
Oh,
want
he didn't.
Pasqualoni.
Okay. That's
I
interesting.
don't know why. I don't know the story
Right.
behind it because his son started for Pasqualoni for years.
Right.
So it didn't make sense why you wouldn't want him. But
there
he
was a
went and he
rip.
asked for his
Yeah.
money back. Yeah. So that was crazy. But I still, Dave, we should do an episode on the civil conflict, the history of there's a whole, you could go to a Wikipedia page and there's a whole history on the civil conflict.
Is there really?
Yeah. And the article in the Athletic did a deep dive during the fall of like college myths and legends. And one of the stories was on the civil conflict. And Bob Diaco declined to interview. Well, the only thing he was, I think he's the DC at Nebraska, or he was the DC at Nebraska at the time.
He was, yeah. I mean, he's
And
somewhere else now.
the only comment he said was, I thought it was a good idea. I was trying to get a rivalry going.
Enthusiasm.
We were going into a new conference, and I was trying to get a rivalry going. I was trying to get the kids fired up. That was his reasoning.
I think we won. It looks like we won 2-3 when he was there. Was he there 3 years? He was there 3 years, Diaco?
Yeah, something like that. And
UCF won, then UConn won in 2014 and 15. Then we lost everyone after that.
Yeah, and UConn beat them one of the years when they were very good, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it was
they were like undefeated or something. They were ranked, and it was a big upset. And UConn only had like 3 wins. But to go back to this, for spring practice, like I was telling Sean, like we would have notes every day on UConnHuskies.com on every practice. Somebody would do notes, or Terry Price from the Current would be there every day, doing notes. And yeah, he knew every player, and he would just butcher you. And he would talk about how much you suck.
I'm reading on this Wikipedia what Gino Ariema said about the civil conflict.
Oh my God, it's great.
He said it might be the dumbest thing in the history of sports.
Gino Ariema said it might be the dumbest thing in the history of sports.
He's not far off.
That's a bit harsh.
It's harsh, but it's not
a bit
far
harsh.
off. Hey, speaking of you talked about Hathaway earlier, and so he was AD at UConn from 03 to 11.
Yeah, right. Because he was the one who ran Randy off, and that caused the whole issue.
So like his resume, he's now a consultant. He was with the Big East for a year, and then he was a vice president / director of athletics at Hofstra. Then he was special assistant at Hofstra, and in 18 and 19. Now he's an adjunct professor at Southern Connecticut. Like how the hell did he not get another AD job?
He was a terrible AD. Lou Perkins did everything.
Yeah, I know Lou was good, but
Randy clashed with him. Randy, like that was the main. I mean, Randy obviously got more money to go to Maryland.
Yeah,
but Randy despised Hathaway. But I do agree with you. I mean, his last year was UConn going to the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
So you would think that he would have gotten another athletic director job.
So did Hathaway get fired?
They brought in Ward Manuel.
Yeah, I thought he got fired.
Yo, I got a good story about Ward. So
Ward
comes in,
always seemed like a good guy. He actually talked to me.
Yeah. So super good guy, and I was able to he was a little bit older than me, but we both played D tackle, so we had that kind of bond. And
he's that young?
He's not much older than us.
Wow, I didn't know that.
He's 56.
Oh,
okay.
All right. So I was off. Sorry.
So he's
great.
Still young. He's still young. No,
So
I talked to him.
Yeah, and then but he was gone. Like even while I was talking to him, I was like, "What's the deal? You gonna bounce from Michigan?" And he's like, "I don't know." So he was only at UConn for like maybe a year, two.
Yeah,
tops.
1 or 2 years. Yeah, because
Ward, I think 4 years.
Jesus.
Yeah, I think it was 2012 to 2016.
Wow.
Because Sean, I got called when I was at Holy Cross. They wanted our athletic director to interview for the UConn job.
Okay.
So I got called, and they had a committee, and they talked to me about our AD at UConn. He was great, Nate Pine.
Okay.
And Nate Pine loved me after that because I talked him up, and he went and interviewed. He didn't end up getting it, but then he left the next year, and he's at Air Force now. But he was close to getting the AD job. It's just it was a cycle for a while, and then they brought in Benedict, and Benedict has been there ever since Manuel left.
Yes.
And
So was he done a good job? He's done all right, I guess.
I
don't know.
You have to say that he's done a great job because he just won AD of the year.
Okay.
that stupid award.
Yeah.
And he's gotten 3 national championships under his belt.
Right.
You can say, and a bowl game for UConn. We went 9-4. Do I think he's done a good job for us for long term? No, because we're still an independent. We're the only independent besides Notre Dame. We don't get any money for television revenue.
Mm-hmm.
We don't stress fundraising. Burton has to do everything. D'Amelio does everything. And that's why it angers me to death that it happens. Because if I was Benedict, I would take Gino Auriemma, Dan Hurley, and Jim Mora. He said they're off until Memorial Day or whatever. I would get them on the road and go to every major alumni donor you can find. Wow. And say, hey, we need money. Yeah. Or else we're not going to survive. Because reality, and Dave and I have talked about this on this show, in 2030, I don't think UConn football can sustain itself as an independent.
Yeah, I mean, I was amazed that 2 years ago.
Yeah, when we went to the bowl game.
Yeah, but maybe it was Mora's first year or second year when they were really bad. I was like, I think they might
second year.
Yeah, I was worried they were going to shut it down. I
thought they were. I did the same thing when they fired Randy. I thought they were going to shut it down because Randy, I interviewed him after, and he said that he was
that douchebag doing.
He was good. He was very good on the interview. He was very honest about everything. You love Randy. Are you kidding me? You were the captain.
Not anymore.
Oh, come on.
No way.
Why don't you like Randy anymore, Sean?
I mean, there's so many reasons. There's
how could there be so many reasons? He loved you. He would have gotten on his knees and blown you.
Any head coach should love a player that does everything they ask them to do.
Which
it's
you
not
did.
That hard to love a player who does everything they ask you to do.
You went above and beyond.
I sure did. And that wasn't reciprocated, so va fangul.
How do you? Why do you say it
They
wasn't
take for
reciprocated?
granted the guys that do everything that they want them to do.
Are you
That's-
saying?
Coaches, coaches in the history of all coaches, and my experience was the same way. Is that the guys that do everything they want them to do and play well, like they don't really pay attention to them
Yeah,
because.
because I don't have to worry about them.
But you know what's interesting, and they don't develop them either. That's the thing that bothers me. So, because I
Sean had a great position coach that developed them.
That's what's changed in this kind of transfer portal era. So I just was interviewing a coach of defensive back coach for Wofford, and
For Wofford,
yeah, he was talking, and I was asking him about what does he do developing his players, and one of the things he actually talked about, which was surprising, he said, I have certain things I do with those players that are the same, for all the players. He said, but one of the things I want to make sure I do is that I give them a really good amount of time to developing my starters and making sure that they get better, because that's a neglected thing. Like a lot of coaches just coach to the squeaky wheel or the thing.
yes,
that's the problem,
absolutely.
right? And they don't spend time. The guy who's doing all the things you want to do, but really still wants to get better. Maybe wants to play at a higher level, right? Because these guys they don't pay as much attention to those guys, And that used to be my problem too. Like, you win every sprint, right? No one was like, yeah, well, they just expect you to win. You're the guy who wins every sprint, Like you're the guy that is in the weight room on time, and you're the guy that
goes to class.
And there was no, you might get some end of the year rewards for.
There's no appreciation for that.
But there was no and you were the one rallying the guys who were pains in the asses to get there. You know what I mean? Because those guys didn't want to go there. Those guys are the ones that really don't like you. Like that was the funny part. Like they would think that they would spend a lot of time with those guys, and those guys, because you're a player, those guys hate you. They absolutely hate you. They're playing for you because you're giving them a scholarship, and then that's why they're. But they don't like you. They don't think that you're real. They think you're fake and all this kind of stuff. So that's the truth. I mean, listen, I was a linebacker. I was good friends with a lot of the guys. Like it would be hilarious what they would say, And I'd be like, no, I'd be like, I don't think you're seeing it the right way. I think they're like, nah. If you're playing, he does whatever for you. If you're not, he's not. And I think that's one of the things that coaches have had to become better at because of the transfer portal.
Yes.
Because if you're not transparent,
they'll leave.
They're going to leave. And they might leave even if you are transparent. But if they think that you're not at all an advocate for them, they're leaving. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm just saying, But I agree with you. I think that they definitely in the old times they took it for granted guys who did everything that they were supposed to do. That used to piss me off too. It'd be like,
but Sean, do you think that he didn't do enough for you when you tried to play professionally? Is that?
I have no idea. It's more like after football.
Yes.
More after football.
Yes.
So I don't know what his recommendations were or anything like that while I was trying to play professionally. But it was after I was done playing football.
You tried to get a job. Yes.
Yeah, I needed help. And he had all these connections and I didn't get any help. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's the problem that Dave and I have been talking about with UConn overall, because now, like I was saying, we have the National C Club. And the National C Club is supposed to get student athletes jobs after college. And they've had some success doing that.
I don't think coaches know what to do from that standpoint either.
Well, Randy was good in certain circumstances.
They were politicians. They talked to everyone. Yeah. They were constantly getting donations.
True.
I mean, the Shankman facility.
Right. Shankman Burton Center. Yeah. Absolutely.
All these places, I didn't get one interview. I even had one assistant tell me, is this about getting a job? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, we're not interested. I was like, you got the name on the building. was like, are you serious? And I'm not like some putz over here. I'm like one of the only ones with a business degree. And
Yeah.
well.
You worked in finance. Yeah.
I'm like, I can't get an I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
And
So I'll tell you it's something.
and you were on TV.
Holtz wasn't bad with that. If you held his feet to the fire.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he was only there a few years because he ended up moving on. But when I was going to be a fifth year.
Oh, you worked with Kyle, you said.
Yeah. Well, yes. But when I was going to be a fifth year senior, I graduated.
Yes.
I was out.
Yes.
I didn't start to the end of the year because I had switched positions. I was originally starting at fullback. New coaches came in. They hated me at full. They wouldn't say that, but they didn't like me at fullback. They moved
you to linebacker.
They changed kind of the system. I was an I fullback. Anyway, so I was just like, hey, yeah, I guess I could start, but I'll go get a job. It's not like I'm going to make the pros here, at this point. And I walked into Holtz's office, and Holtz is like, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm just going to graduate, dude. I'm like, he's like, no. I'm like, no. I'm like, well, I'm graduating, he's like, no, we need you next year. I said, all right, well, I'll stay.
Take grad classes.
You help? No. I said, if I can get into the MBA program and I can get help getting into the MBA program.
In the business school. Wow.
I'll stay. Oh, I was already in the undergrad business school, but to get into the MBA, to get my MBA.
Yeah.
And most people go work for a few years and then get their MBA. So it's kind of like a little bit unusual request, And I was like, I'm going to shoot my shot. Right, and he's like, apply. I applied. I had a 2.98 GPA. That would not normally get in. Okay. I had a very high, the GMAT score, but I didn't have like a super high GPA. And I got in, and I definitely attributed that to Holtz.
And Chris D says he loves your negotiating skills.
And then
Chris D's the man.
And second thing I negotiated is I went back in there and I said I need an internship because I don't have any job experience. I didn't work in high school. I was always playing sports my whole life. My father was a coach. He would never let me work, So I was like, I need some job experience. And he's like, well, where do you want to work? I said, I'd like to work in the governor's mansion. I swear to God, he made a call. Lou's daughter was already going to work there.
That's right. Was that when Roland was there?
He's like, we got you an internship. It was unpaid, but and Lou's daughter got a paid internship. I got an unpaid one, but I got to work in the governor's mansion.
Was it Governor Roland?
It was Governor Roland.
He was the one that was that got in trouble, right, for embezzling money.
Later on, he ended up getting in trouble.
Yeah.
He was also the one that pushed through when the women won that UConn 2000, which got a lot of money into UConn.
Yes, that was the big
you
plan.
Guys ended up benefiting from down the line.
Correct.
I didn't really benefit.
He funded it.
Yeah, he funded that money. But yeah, so I worked for Governor Roland. Now I only got to meet Governor Roland once. I was way up at the top in the back in the support division. Basically,
yeah, they just said they just kept you away.
Governor Roland sucks. Like I'd pick up that phone call, they'd be like,
"You were just trying to get donations."
Thank you very much for your for you guys to have a great day. But Holtz came through from that, and I always say you know what, I asked for it, he delivered, and so from that standpoint, I could never complain about him. But I do 100% understand because a lot of other players did not. Now, I had a situation where I could hold his feet to the fire because I ended up starting at linebacker.
He needed you.
He kind of needed me. The next year, he wouldn't have needed me. But that next year, he needed me to be a starter, and
but that's different, though. It's different when you're still playing.
True.
Because they get you jobs when you're playing.
After that, though, he didn't do anything. I agree with
Randy got me a job at the radio station when I was playing.
Right.
But Sean, you're talking about
post.
You played for several. You played for several years. What did you play? 5 years after college?
04, 05, 06, 07. So 4 seasons.
Yeah. So then Yeah, we were in Europe together.
Yeah.
So did you actually contact Randy when you got back?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't.
No, I did.
You did.
Yeah.
Did you
And
actually get a hold of him?
Yeah. In the beginning, it was easy because we had that relationship. We had a good
Yeah,
relationship.
because he loved you. I mean, you were his favorite.
So it was fairly easy to get his ear, but like
he never came through on anything.
no, he never came through, and then he was out.
And then did he
once he was out, like I started working for SNY in 2010, and 2011 was the big year. But then he left and they sucked. So SNY pulled the programming, and that was it.
Well, that was the end of the Big East too. The Big East dissolved.
They still did we would do a game like once a year for like 6 years when there was no more Big East. But it was like once you like his decision to leave selfishly affected thousands of people. Thousands, not just me.
I never thought of it like that.
Yes.
So Randy leaving UConn ended up being the demise of the entire conference of the Big East.
Yep.
And it turned into the AAC. I never thought of it like that, but you're probably right. That had a ripple effect.
Totally.
But I'm shocked that he didn't come. Like, did he get you an interview?
I don't remember any.
He got nothing.
No.
Wow. And you said you even you tried calling Orlovsky.
I mean, he's not interested.
He's a different place now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Big Time now, huh?
And it's unbelievable how much I helped
now.
him get into ESPN. And like he was in that
oh, that's right.
UConn magazine recently.
Yes.
And they were like, how did you get onto ESPN? How'd you get so famous? And he's like, well, I just tweeted stuff. No, you had a former teammate working for me. Did
he really say that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's
awful.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Meanwhile, there's tape of him at SNY. And it's like, how you got there. The ability for you to get tape to ESPN, you're welcome.
Well, I always thought that you and Donnie were great. I loved watching you and Donnie. And I like I said, I loved texting you during the broadcast and making fun of your neck because the shirt was too tight. and you would text me back during the show and during the commercial break.
Yeah.
But no, you were great. You were great at that.
Thanks. Obviously not good enough.
I definitely think you are. But like, look, the same thing happened to Joe D. D got dropped from football, basketball, everything. Did you ever try to get back into it at any radio stations or other television networks?
IMG hit me up
once. Wow.
But they didn't want to pay me.
They didn't want to pay you.
No, they called me, and I still have the email. They emailed me and they're like, "Hey, can you do Thursday's game?" I'm like, "It's Tuesday, but what's the deal?" They were like, "We don't know what we can pay you," and having experience, I was like, "That means there's no pay." So I said no. And thank God I said no, because it was like November 20th. It was like raining and freezing for a sideline gig. And,
you would have had to be on the sideline?
Yeah, it was a sideline gig.
I would have put a shotgun to my head.
So that's why I said no. I looked at the weather and I saw no payment. I was like, there's no. And that's the other thing that's been like frustrating. Like I've done so many things.
Yeah.
For
you're multi-talented and you give back. You always give back.
And once I, was like IMG, like, no, they totally banned me from any type of UConn football programming.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, now it's the CBS network and they're okay, but
yeah.
it's painful to watch. But like you never like there's radio, like you could do radio, and our podcast giggle is gonna blow up because we got the true crime series. We're gonna be stars. But
Nice.
did you ever try like radio? Because like you would be awesome on a morning show.
Yeah, I mean, I applied to the Fan, but so does every other guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So my producer at SNY was Kurt Gowdy Jr. And you remember when Craig Carton got fired?
Yes, that was a big deal.
So I didn't apply for Gio's spot because I had a feeling I knew I wouldn't get that. But when Carton came back out of jail, I was like, no one's gonna want to work with this guy. And I was like, so I asked Kurt Gowdy, who was in negotiations with SNY and Craig Carton, even though they didn't have anything. I was like, I'd be willing to do sports with Carton. And Kurt Gowdy Jr. goes, we're looking for someone with a little bit of a bigger name, a little bit of a bigger draw.
Oh, Jesus.
What do you want me to do?
That's just ridiculous.
So many people.
So Dave,
it's tough now too with all the different media outlets, and you're basically in you're either in the elite group or you're on the low end now. It's not like.
Well, that's why I like covering the Worcester Red Sox, because I get media passes to go to the games if I want. I get to sit in the press box. That's what I took Sean Rabinowitz to, and they had a ball there. But Mora's press conference was interesting. They're still looking for guys in the portal. Cole Welliver is transferring, which is disappointing because boo Randy. I actually thought Cole Welliver, he was taking reps with the threes, but depending, with the offense they run, that Fassar guy is definitely going to pass him. The Virginia State quarterback of the year, the Virginia State player of the year.
Well, they want him to pass him. Yeah. They want him to pass him too.
I wonder, it doesn't say anything. I'm going to check just to see if we had anyone else enter the portal. See, that's what's just so like frustrating about this is, I paid to join and I get nothing. Like there's three news stories. The 416 press conference by Mora, the spring practice notebook from 412 by Graham Chamberlain, who's clearly a tool, and then UConn media availability spring practice 4-5. I mean, the lack of coverage is just, it blows my mind. And I think that is a big reason that I really believe it's a reason that prevents us from being in a conference. You got to have media coverage.
Coverage. Yeah. It's attention. It's marketing.
Yes. You got to be in a good market. You got to show that you're in a good market.
Yeah, marketing is a big deal. You're right.
Yeah. You're in a good market. You got a good fan base. You got a good team. We won 9 games and we still got 30,000 fans for one game. It was Wake Forest.
You got to feed off that. You got to build off that 9 wins. Like, that's huge. And it's the most wins in 20 years. It's like
since your year.
Yeah. It's like, guys, figure it out. Like, put banners up on 95. If I see another golf lawyer, or you guys aren't even in Connecticut, but like, it's the same billboards all up and down 91, 84.
Yeah.
It's like, throw a UConn football one up there, you dopes.
I know. It's just so frustrating that it's gotten to that. But like Dave and I talked about it as well. We also think the issue is they play teams that they're competitive with, but they don't bring anyone to the home stadium that's going to be a draw.
Right.
Like we went over their record or their schedule for next year. Like, how many people are going to show up for the Central Connecticut State game, the opener? I mean, then they got like, They got like Ball State, FIU. I mean, they're playing at BC. They're at Syracuse. They signed the deal they signed with Syracuse was a 2-1. So Syracuse gets 2 home games. UConn gets 1.
Jeez.
And this is Syracuse's second home game. The deal they signed with Duke, I guess, was a home and away, which was good. So Duke's the only really good team besides Air Force that's coming to us. So it's tough. Like, that's what Joe D said. Joe D said that we need a solid opponent to come in to draw, and unfortunately, it costs money to get them, especially when you're an independent.
And the other problem I was just looking at is, like, whenever a lower team like us has a big team come in, the stadium is filled with mostly their fans. But
yeah, they outdraw us. You're right.
They outdraw us, but that's also the other problem. Like, we're getting like 5,000-6,000 people at a game. Like, it's terrible. Like,
well, I mean, we were in the 20s for the most part last year.
All right.
We were over 20, I believe. Because I checked it, because I was furious, because I went to 2 games, and I was just, I just expected more, because we were having such a good year. But it, as Joe D said, like, who wants to come out and watch us play Georgia State?
No.
Like that's what he says. Like, they're playing Georgia State, like, Temple. I'm just gonna look for a second just to see what some of the attendances are. We played Merrimack.
Mm-hmm.
Merrimack,
Sisters of the Poor.
I mean, yeah. The attendance. Okay, I was wrong. The attendance for Merrimack was 32,000. So that's surprising. I didn't know it was that high. Let me see what it was for Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic, 20,000.
Wow.
20,000 for Florida Atlantic. I'm surprised Merrimack was that high. Well, it was the second game of the year.
And it's close. They're close, right?
Yeah, Merrimack's in Massachusetts. Yeah. The Buffalo game was 20,000. So again, to be a 1A school, you have to have a stadium that holds 30,000.
Yeah.
But you have to play and win these games first, so you can get momentum to get new. I agree with you, Chris D. I agree. You have to win the games to get momentum to get into a conference, so better teams will come to the rent. I firmly agree with you. But Chris D, I do not think our athletic department is being aggressive enough to try to get into a conference and try to get a couple good home games. Nick, face it, Nick Evers will be the starting quarterback. They will find a way to name him. Chris D, I'm going on record right now. Nick Evers is not going to be the starting quarterback.
No.
I know that they want him to be. I know that they're paying him. Joe Figliano.
I think you might see Evers jump in the portal.
Yeah, I like that move.
You don't, but David Benedict was named athletic director of the year. Chris D, just so you know, I was named podcaster of the year. I say I'm the best podcast host in the universe.
You named it yourself.
So David Benedict being named athletic director of the year is like Steve Colley being named podcaster of the year.
Yeah.
The group that gave him that award, I don't know what it was, but it was disappointing that they didn't have a spring game. But we talked about that. They can't, because they don't want their talent to be showcased. All the practices were super, super secret. Nobody could watch them. They were open. They had one open practice for ex-players to go to, and that was it. So, but I do think they're on the right track. I think with Joe Figliano, Chris D, I think they can win 8 games. I think they can win 9 games. I don't think they can with Nick Evers. Nick Evers is not comfortable in the pocket. Nick Evers gets hurt.
I don't think Nick Evers is gonna. I'm not sure, but I think
it would be the fourth time. I don't think he can transfer. He transferred from Oklahoma to Wisconsin to UConn. This would be his fourth time. I know that his family is not happy.
Yeah, I heard him. He was on the mother was commenting on the Coach JB show or something. Like Coach JB, whatever the guy from.
It's not Mark Zanato.
No, he runs. He was on Last Chance U. He's the guy from Last Chance U.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess he knows her, and she was commenting like they're not happy or so. I have to find it.
They're not. They're not happy. Lowell Zanato, Graham Chamberlain, Chris D. Do you know who Graham Chamberlain is? Because I don't want to get yelled at.
I got yelled at. Chamberlain is.
I got yelled at for saying "locked on my balls" by everyone, so I have to be careful what I say.
I thought that was your greatest moment.
It was our greatest moment. Yes, he's on Twitter. So Sean,
my balls.
I was angry because Dave and I had been talking to Kevin Freeman and Phil Hunt about them taking on our podcast. Yeah. And they were interested. Mm-hmm. And then, we kind of found out that I was texted, they're using this Locked On brand to cover their team. And it was called Locked On UConn. And the host was Mark Zanato. So knowing me, the next episode we had, Dave, of course, is quiet and reserved and doesn't let his emotions go. Steve Colley decides to just let it fly. And I started saying, oh, it sucks. They don't know what they're talking about. I listened to it. It was boring. Zanato sucks. And I said, yeah, they're locked on my balls. So that caused a major firestorm because Mike Burton's right-hand man, Jared, works for Zanato. Burton called me 5 minutes. Now that Mark was fired, there's even a lockdown. Is there really even a lockdown UConn? Where's Benedict and Jared going to do?
I think there is a lockdown UConn.
There has to be. There has to be. So immediately I get a call from Burton, and Burton's like, "Did you just call out?" I also said I had a source that told me Jared. People think Jared's a douchebag. So I did two things that were very bad. Burton calls me. He's like, "Who's calling Jared a douchebag? Why are you saying that on the air? Everyone's watching you. And why are you locked on? Helps us. That's like D'Amelio's thing. It's like you can't. Why are you attacking them? What did they do to you?" I said they were supposed to use us, and they picked Locked On. So I had to apologize to Jared. He said you have to apologize to Jared, and you have to.
Or did you call him?
Both.
Jesus.
No. We didn't have Jared on air. I had to have Zanato on air.
No, he didn't have to apologize to anyone. He chose to.
No. I had to. I had to apologize.
I own the podcast, so you didn't have to apologize to anybody, but you chose to because you wanted people to like you, which I understand completely.
No, it was Burton. I would do it for Burton.
Yes, of course. I understand. I didn't say I didn't understand. Yeah. I do.
Yes, I did. I did apologize to Jared. I apologized to Zanato, and we made peace because we had Zanato on our show, and he wasn't bad.
Well, what does Zanato do?
Zanato was the host of Locked On UConn. That was the podcast that the school was kind of behind promoting.
And is that a full-time gig?
Yes, I believe it was. Now this is another funny story. I'll tell you quick because I know Dave's got to go. But so I got called. I think it was like a month ago. Phil Hunt calls me. He says, we need you to can you please have Mark Zanato on your podcast, your Husky Hoops podcast. This is at 10 o'clock. The show's at 11.
Okay.
So I say, okay, no problem. They say Zanato on. They had Zanato on who bailed early and made Joe D furious. Yes, that is true. So we come on the show, and I say, hey guys, I have to tell you something. You're not going to be happy about it. Mark Zanato's coming on the show. Joe D's immediately like, yeah, I'm out. You guys, and we said, no, it's just going to be for a little while. He can't stay long. I was told that I had to have him on by, Phil Hunt. He works in the president's office. So, and Maria Conlon does it with us too. She was pissed. She's like, what's this guy doing? And he comes on, he does our show. He's fine. He just talks about his show a lot. He says, well, on my show, I do this. On my show, I do that. And that was, this is all my fault. I provoked Colley into this. No, you didn't, Christy. It's a great story because
you're
I caused chaos.
Apologizing again soon.
I caused chaos. So he comes on, he does like 20 minutes, he's gone. Joe D's miserable. He calls me afterwards and basically was saying, like, if you pull anything like that, I'm done. I'm quitting the show. Like Joe D, I mean, he was great on our show.
He was great.
But he was amazing. He was, and that was why I wanted him. And that's why I asked him to come on.
Well, his analysis is great.
My goal was, he got fucked by UConn that they took basketball and football away from him. So my goal was to rebuild Joe D's career. I want Joe D to be
football
back.
now for UConn?
I have no idea.
It changes like every week. Yeah.
It's the CBS network.
Yeah,
I have no. It's not one person.
Okay.
But Joe did it for the radio and was great. Like my father, every game would wear fucking the old school headsets and listen to Joe D broadcast the game instead of watch. Yeah.
I think that's something that has to come back for UConn.
Yeah.
Media wise, however they chose to do, like the corporate media thing. I mean, I still think for UConn.
Well, just look at our watch-alongs. Our watch-alongs did huge numbers.
Yeah, I think you have to focus in on the needs of the university. Listen. I think it's SNY that does women still, right?
They're done with SNY.
I know. I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be the problem.
Yeah, people were.
Who else is doing shows in the New York City area? The New York City to Boston
it's
area?
all going to Peacock, NBC and Peacock. That's what the Big East is going to.
Right, and but my point is that UConn is basically the prominent feature in that, right? And so.
Correct.
Now that's going to go away.
Correct.
That's like that can affect. Listen, media affects your recruiting.
Everything. Yeah, you have to have great media. It makes the difference. So Sean,
look at Syracuse, how they the whole. You saw the thing with Fran Brown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was on the Syracuse. That was on the Syracuse podcast. Syracuse whatever.net.
Yes. Syracuse.com. Yes.
No, it's not Syracuse.com. It's like their podcast network.
Okay. No, I didn't know that.
Great job with these outside networks leveraging them. A lot of these universities do a great job of that.
They use them to their advantage. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You give them more. If you're in the corporate media game only, Locked On or any of these other corporate media game only, you're privy to a national audience. Less of a focused audience. All of the big schools have the national media, but they all have great the local coverage.
Exactly. That's why we have a purpose that needs to be exposed. So, Sean, Mark gets fired from Locked On literally a week later.
Really?
Because he promoted SeatGeek. He said something about SeatGeek promoting them, and that went against his contract. and also because he appeared on another podcast. He promoted another podcast, which was us. He was on our show. So I don't know if I was the reason that I got him fired because he came on our podcast.
I doubt it.
Yeah. Well, it was part of it because he came on this, and then he did the SeatGeek thing, and he was done. It was like a week later. So it was either like a setup.
You think they set him up? You think he got set up?
Dave, okay. It was denied by Phil Hunt when you talked to him. He denied it. He said, I know nothing. I don't think I called him. And Mark was baffled. Like, all he did was bring up SeatGeek for getting tickets. And, it was appearing against his contract, appearing on other podcasts and promoting other products.
Paid.
He didn't get paid much. He was a 1099.
Yeah, so for them that's my point. For them to have these type of rules when you're not like paying him a lot, like it sounds to me from our experience and what we're doing, you need you can't live off podcasting unless you're fucking Joe Rogan. So like,
you gotta have sponsors, yeah.
For them to be
that's
like,
why,
you can't
have 1.3 million viewers.
What's that?
That's why.
Yeah, Dave, 1.3 million subscribers.
Dave gets paid by YouTube because he has subscribers. I get paid by the sponsors that I have. I don't have huge sponsors, but I have some.
You can sell them, right?
Yeah, that I was. That's why I said I would pay you if I could get a sponsor for our show. I'd absolutely pay you.
What show are you guys doing?
It's just Husky Talk SNS.
What's SNS?
Sean and Steve. And that's we just talk movies, pop culture, and then some sports mixed in. We've done 3 episodes.
It's our therapy, so we don't kill anybody.
It's therapy.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I gotta listen.
Hey Dave, were you like kind of doing what Tom Lemming was doing, like back in the day?
Tom Lemming goes around from place to place and goes to the actual schools and meets the players. He still does that, not as much, but like I think his son kind of took over the business. But no, I was hosting showcases and evaluating the players directly. Like, so they would come to the showcase. I still do it, but now we're doing mostly middle school and freshmen because the older kids don't want to go to anything other college camps. And basically, I guess it becomes a recruiting ground for the high schools. But so we were doing the direct evaluations and saying, this kid's the MVP, this was the best players, best player list, and then we'd send them out.
Okay.
So
yeah, Dave did camps. He did camps.
You name it, they came through, and we've had 4 or 5 Heisman Trophy winners that have come.
Holy shit!
Yeah, during the heyday was really of when we
had Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, Johnny Manziel. I mean, Derrick Henry, Kyler Murray. I mean, those are the Heisman Trophy guys. What's the quarterback for Jacksonville with the long hair?
Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, all those. Everybody like at one time it was like a third of the NFL. At one time, it's starting to now. We don't run as many events. It's starting to move through that. But yeah,
great, man.
Dave was the pioneer of the one-day camps.
You played. I don't think Tom Lemming played football, which is why.
No, he was a mailman.
Yeah.
No, literally, he really was. He really was. The only reason I know that, there's only one. So years ago, we used to be partners with this company, NCSA, which is now owned by IMG.
Yes. Yeah. NCSA was
partners
huge.
with them. We were their first big partner. Anyway, I was there at a meeting with Tom Lemming. I was there with me. Tom Lemming was like one of their big early partners. And I was there. Tom Lemming was there. That the CEO of NCSA, this guy Chris Kraus, who played at Vanderbilt, and so they were talking, and there was somebody else there. What was the guy? Rice. He was the defensive end. He was a great player.
Simeon Rice.
Simeon Rice. He was doing something with apparel at the time, and we're all there, and at this meeting, and Izell Reese, who's now the head of flag football for all of the NFL, he runs a whole. So we're there, and they were talking about his career, and I didn't know really much about Tom Lemming other than he evaluated players. And he was like, yeah, back when I was a mailman, and I did a little. I was like, a mailman is the most legendary evaluator of talent in high school history. A mailman, he's actually really great. I got to know him.
Yeah,
He's very nice guy, really nice guy, great guy. But I did a double take. I was like. Because I was younger at the time. I mean, I wasn't that young, but I was in my 30s. And I still was had that
take your shirt off.
Yeah. Well, if you're not a football player, if you weren't a football player, how can you evaluate?
Yeah, how do you know? How can you evaluate?
It just threw me for a loop. I was just like, wait a minute. This is the guy who's the biggest guy?
No, Christy, that better not be true. I'll fucking flip out. I'll go crazy. He says UConn is getting a visit this week from that Georgia QB.
Oh, yeah, he is. He's in the mix.
No. Burton told me no.
Jaden Rashard.
Burton told me no. He said, don't believe everything you read. If this motherfucker is coming to campus, I'm going to lose my fucking shit.
It's not Jaden Rashada. That's it. Jaden Rashada.
Yeah, no. Dude, no.
Why?
I'll slash his tires.
He was good.
We're not paying him. We don't need him. We're going to win games regardless. We don't need to spend fucking $2 million on this asshole who's left 3 different schools.
Well, you're going to have to apologize. You're already cursed. You're cursed. You're going to get a call from Phil, and you're going to have to give me some fake apology.
Fuck, you're right.
On here.
Please don't visit him. Please, God, please.
All right. Well,
please.
Yeah, I'll explain it to Steve. So
Dave, we don't have the money to pay him.
Yeah, don't have the money. Already paying Evers.
We're paying Evers.
That means Evers is going in the portal.
Yeah,
that would mean Evers is going in the portal. What?
He has shown no loyalty to any team.
Anyone.
No,
and he hasn't played. Sean, 100%. I don't think he's played.
No, he's definitely not. Listen, he's definitely not loyal to any team. It's definitely, they brought him in. He's a hired gun.
He hasn't played. I don't think he's played a snap.
He played at Arizona State a few games. He actually did pretty well, and then I don't know what happened. I think he just transferred out of there. There's a famous
went to Georgia.
Of him when he transferred out of Arizona. Was it Arizona State?
It says he's lining up visits to Fresno State and UConn. Chris D, I'm gonna stand guard at the Burton Shankman complex. I'm just gonna stand there all week.
I dare you to do it. I
will stand there fucking all week. If Jaden Rashada comes there, I will punch him. I will fight him. He's not coming there. I will. No, he's going to ruin our lives. We cannot take him. We don't have the money. We don't need a quarterback. Fuck
what
this
if you
kid.
win? What if you win? I'm being devil's advocate here because
Jared may.
What if we won? What if we went 12-0 because of him?
We're not going 12. We could go 12-0 with Joe Figiano. We don't need.
I agree. We could. I like Joe.
This kid could get a hangnail and decide to transfer again.
That's the other thing. People like Joe. Like he can build.
Joe.
He's a leader. Yeah, he's a leader.
I like.
You love getting me fired up. Yeah, Chris D, I'm going to be fired up. I'm going to be standing by the Burton.
Chris D is definitely like an industry plant on you. You know what I mean?
I'm going to stand. I swear to fucking God, I will stand by the door of the Burton Shankman Center.
I envision an apology coming.
All week I will stand there. If he comes to visit, I'll get a baseball bat and smash. I'll smash his NIL deal. I'll smash the baseball bat on the table.
Dave, how far are you from Basking Ridge?
Probably about an hour. I'm down by the shore. I'm down by Red Bank.
Oh, how close are you to Tom's River?
About 25-30 minutes.
Oh, that's where our buddy's from. Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Krug's from there. Is Cruz a state trooper, right? Or
I think
Marcos?
he's a town cop in
Marcos the state trooper.
Right.
Right. But yeah, we please. Oh my God, we don't need this fucking guy. If he comes in, I'm gonna lose it.
Maybe they're just talking to him.
I'm gonna stop donating my $100. Burton, you're not getting my $100. You're not getting my $100 anymore.
I'll miss you. I want my $2.
$2. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's an 80s movie for you right there. There's an 80s movie.
Wait
a second. It's called.
Steve, have you seen Better Off Dead?
No.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Who's in Better Off? You said the
John
Burb.
Cusack.
Okay.
Yo,
Okay.
Dude, do you remember when the mom blows her face off because of the cigarette?
Yes. Dude, that movie is such.
What is this, a horror movie?
No,
No.
Silly humor. It's
Okay.
really, really silly humor.
And you got two Japanese guys doing Howard Cosell.
Oh, yes.
Racing.
Yes. What was it? Lane Meyer?
Lane Meyer.
Lane Meyer. Here comes Lane Meyer.
How old is this movie?
I think
It's
87.
correct in every
Okay.
capacity. It's like John Cusack was great in those movies back in the day.
Yeah.
He was a great
Yes.
actor as a whole. He did a lot of great movies. He's very underrated.
Yeah.
Very
Well, he's a character actor. He can just jump in and play any part.
Well, he used to be in comedy, but then he
Yes.
became romantic comedy with Say
He did
Anything.
rom-coms.
He
Yeah.
kind of became a rom-com guy.
Gross Point Blank, he was pretty funny. And also, what's the One Crazy Summer?
Sean, we'll talk about it on our show, but
yeah.
I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's by far the best.
Yeah.
By far the best.
I have to piss
Out of the Indiana
so
Jones.
badly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
let me-
Let's wrap it up.
we'll wrap it up. Yeah, we're good.
I'm about to
So
help my dick and start
so
pissing.
fucking Chris D, if Jaden fucking comes there, I'm coming to UConn tomorrow. I'm not leaving.
You're lying. There ain't no chance you're going.
No, I'm doing the
I want
fundraiser
a
tomorrow.
picture. I want a video.
I will be at the
I'll
fundraiser
make you
tomorrow.
go viral if you go. That'll be.
Sean is going. Sean will be at the fundraiser.
There you go.
If Jaden's coming, I'm telling my father, Dad, I'm staying all week. Sorry, you can leave me. I'm staying, and I'm gonna stay all week. And I'm gonna stand
I'll have
outside.
you over for dinner.
I'm gonna stand outside the Burton Center, and if he comes, I'm gonna fucking tackle him. There's no way. I will not let this happen.
You won't be able
This
to
is
tackle.
not
He's too
happening.
elusive.
I'm gonna catch him off guard. He's just gonna see this guy in a trench coat
He's gonna
standing in front, and I'm gonna tackle him, and that'll be it. So that's great news.
Will you become as popular as the current criminals that are getting all the popularity? The killer in.
Well, I mean, I'll definitely be arrested.
Or the guy who killed the healthkeare CEO. Will you be a popular guy of the left all of a sudden?
I'll be stupid. I mean, they'll show stupid criminals, and I'll get arrested on campus. So, I mean, UConn Police
you'll
Department.
definitely get arrested. You'll be gone for a
I've been
long
arrested.
time. So.
I mean,
Sean, take your spot. Sean, take your spot.
Sean's in Westport. Sean can come bail me out. We're good. Are you in Westport still?
No, Trumbull.
Oh, he's in Trumbull. Sean, I'll call Sean or Newsy. They'll come bail me out.
Oh yeah, Trumbull. That is
worth
the
it.
territory.
If it prevents the visit, it'll be worth it. So, for Sean Mulcahy, great job. Great having you on the show. And Coach Schuman, happy Good Friday and good luck in your tournament today. I'm Steve Colley, the best podcast host in the universe. Fuck Jaden McDuffie, whatever the fuck his name is. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at Jaden.